What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Film Room here on Two Guys Watching Football. And today is a very special one because the other guy watching football is going to be one of the prospects himself. I'm pleased to introduce interior offensive lineman prospect Brock Hoffman out of Virginia Tech by way of Coastal Carolina. Brock played his high school ball at Statesville High School in North Carolina. He was a two-star recruit to Coastal Carolina in 2017. While there, he became the first true freshman to start at center in the school's history and just the third true freshman to start on the offensive line in general. In his sophomore year, he started 12 games at right guard, where he was named all-region and was also a member of the president's list with a 4.0 GPA and was a member of the team leadership council. After 2018, he applied to transfer to Virginia Tech to be closer to his family and his hometown, where he sat out the 2019 season due to transfer restrictions. In 2020, he started 11 games at center, blocking for NFL breakout Khalil Herbert and who averaged 240.1 yards per game in that season. Obviously, that's something Ravens fans are going to acknowledge, which helped Brock be an all-ACC honorable mention. In 2021, he played 11 at center, 1 at left guard, and also moved to right tackle against West Virginia to finish out the game after an injury to their right tackle. Some of the highlights from 2021 was getting an invite to the East-West Shrine Bowl, where the Ravens had a couple coaches down there, an all-ACC honorable mention, Wells Fargo Humanitarian of the Year, and a couple of semifinalist awards, including I'm hoping I'm saying it right, the Werfel Trophy, which awards athletic, academic, and community service, and the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year, which recognizes exceptional courage, integrity, and sportsmanship. Welcome to the show, Brock Hoffman. How are you doing, my guy?
I'm doing good. I appreciate it. I appreciate the in-depth introduction for sure.
I was rambling there, but there's a lot to hit on.
It's all good.
We were talking about this. Obviously, in a very, very experienced starter. I mean, basically a 4-year starter, and someone with a ton of versatility. Obviously, sophomore year at right guard after starting at center. And then we're actually going to see a couple clips from that West Virginia game where you kicked out to right tackle. So really looking forward to that. So, because we have you here, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you a couple questions. Don't worry, though, not an interview setting, just to kind of learn a little bit about your background. So, I have to ask this. So there's a few awards where it mentions, and there's also quite a few articles out there where it talks about your community service and that sort of work. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about that and what your involvement is off the football field?
Yeah. So for me, my mom's a school teacher, and she's been one for the last 30 years now. So for me, education's always been important for me and my sisters. And now that I have a platform where I can give back and put my efforts into things, I believe that, putting, effort, time, and money back into education is important, because I've seen people throughout my life that I've been friends with, or people that I knew have grown up and kind of fallen off that path. And I think a lot of that is, kind of not trying to pursue that further education. And I just feel like, for me, if I can put time and effort into that and help out future generations, I think education is where it starts.
Oh, that's awesome, man. And we talked about this before we started, but I'm going to be probably drawing some parallels to current Baltimore Raven and free agent Bradley Bozeman. Obviously, he was our Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, but similar. There's something about these prospective Ravens centers and community work. So I love to hear it. And I know our listeners will really appreciate that. And then as I was digging into your backstory, I saw an article in the Roanoke Times that talked about you entering the draft last year. So can you tell me a little bit, like, what made you kind of go back to Tech for another year? And was there anything you did prior to 2021 that was a little bit different that kind of prepared you for that draft season?
Yeah, so for me, based off, kind of the evaluations I heard, it was really mixed reviews. There were some that thought I could come out and some that thought I could go back. I just kind of wanted it to be more consistent, more teams and more opinions saying that, you should come out and that you're a draftable guy. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of that was, trusting, my coaches at VT, my family, and, some other outside sources that I was working with and stuff like that now. But, yeah, so basically, like, during the 2020 season, I was a little bit heavier. I was about 325, 330, like in between that little range. So coming back, I wanted to lean out. So the one thing I started picking up outside of workouts was boxing. So I started doing some boxing to work on, body control, working on my punch and working on just, overall stamina and conditioning. And then another thing I wanted to work on too, just extra outside of doing the football stuff, was yoga, just to work on my flexibility. And I feel like doing those things from January all the way up into camp really benefited me in that transition. I leaned out to about 310 pounds. So, I felt like just doing those two little things extra outside of all the things I was doing football wise benefited me a lot for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. And yeah, I always talk about, I'm always looking at, with some of wide receivers and DBs, I love seeing basketball backgrounds. And then, one thing that Ravens fans got to know really well was when we had Jones on our team, Arthur Jones, back this years ago, but he's actually I think the older brother of John Jones. So he used to talk a lot in his interviews about having that kind of MMA background and being a defensive lineman, and I know you're talking about the punch, but even some of the grappling and that sort of thing. So it's always interesting. And yeah, I went back to check the East-West Bowl. So I know you came in at 6'3", 310, 33 and an 1/8 inch arm. So obviously that paid off really well. So obviously that's awesome to see.
No doubt.
And on the East-West Shrine Bowl, so you were down there in Vegas, you got the invite. So, how was that experience? And was there any interesting moments you could tell us about that really stood out during that whole process down there?
Yeah, no, it was honestly a really remarkable experience, something that I'll carry with me forever. Honestly, when I went out there, my agent was out there, and then my family flew out, and actually my best friend from high school flew out to kind of watch the practices and the game. And then for the game, my girlfriend's family and all of them came out. But it was just a really good experience. Just, have all my support system there watching me perform against like high level talented guys. And for me, I knew coming in that week it was going to be a big week for me to showcase, teams really who I am as a player, both on the field and in the interview setting. Being out there, it allowed me to interview with GMs and higher ups in organizations and all those different things outside of showcasing my talent on the practice field. And for me, I felt like I said earlier, it was a big week for me coming in. That's kind of how I prepared for it for that month leading up. And it obviously, benefited me because I ended up getting an interior alignment of the week. So it was definitely a great experience for me, and I'll definitely carry that with me forever.
Yeah, and actually, you popped out to me on screen when I was watching Christian Darrisaw last year, and then obviously, kind of as you kind of do this year after year, you remember guys that aren't necessarily in their draft year, but that was something that when the East-West Bowl came up and I saw you were on the roster, I was like, okay, I got to go check that out because you do play with the type of demeanor that I resonate with. I mean, I'm a small kid up in Canada, but, I always played with that nasty kind of background. But, and I know that's something that it was interesting, kind of going through some of the articles. I'm seeing Darrisaw and Lysita Smith talking about it and the impact it had on the team. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you approach the great game and how important that controlled aggression is?
Yeah, no, for me, it kind of started at a young age. My dad was a former college coach. He got out of it when me and my sister started getting a little older, but he coached me actually in elementary school, and then kind of leading up when middle school, he kind of let me go. But he's taught me everything I know in the game from like the ground level up. And he always told me, even when I was a young kid, you can't play the game soft. You have to play the game with an edge and a nastiness to it. And I've just kind of kept that with me, and it's grown through the confidence I've built as a person and growing up in the game of football. So yeah, for me, I feel like it's just a way I play. It's nothing I do extra. It's just kind of who I am as a person.
Yeah, I love it. And I was dying going through some of the clips because, I mean, the clips you sent me, pretty much everyone ends with in the run game with you on top of someone. So, I mean, finishing's obviously, a paramount piece of your game. So that's great to see. And it's something that, it was so interesting to hear some of your teammates talk about it because it is one of those traits that kind of rubs off on guys. I mean, someone that kind of plays with that mentality, it sets the tone for the rest of the offensive line. And I mean, the center obviously being the leader on the team, top communicator. I think that's super important. So awesome to see. And then, positional versatility is obviously another thing that you have a ton of. We kind of covered it earlier, and we'll see some of it tonight. But I think you've done quite a bit of moving around, both guard spots, right tackle against West Virginia. So what do you see your NFL position being, or do you see yourself being kind of a versus the true interior offensive line that can kind of do a little bit of everything on the interior? Or do you see yourself as a center? How does that kind of go in your mind heading into the draft?
Yeah, for me, I see myself as a true interior offensive lineman. Like, I've proven that I can play both guards and center. You know, some guys they talk about that are guards that can transition to center, but have never done it. Like, for me, I've proven that I can do it at a high level at both left and right guard as well as center. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'll be playing much tackle, but it was nice to just show that, like, in a crunch, like I could. So, but yeah, I'm a true interior offensive lineman for sure.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. And that's something like, you know, Patrick McCarry on the Ravens right now he's one of those guys that I think he's through 2 or 3 years now. I mean, he's played all 5 spots, and that's someone that, you know, we value highly because you nailed it in a pinch, like in that West Virginia game. You know, they needed you to get out there and play right tackle. So just to kind of press on that a little bit. And so in practices, were you repping at tackle, or was that just one of those situations where the coach is like, look, our right tackle went down. We need someone. Brock, you're our guy. Get in there and get it done.
Yeah, so I'd actually never repped at right tackle in this past season at all. Not a single rep. I wasn't really prepared for it. But the center behind me was a grad transfer, so he had experience. So he felt better about moving him into center and bumping me out to tackle. And he knew I'd go out there and I'd do whatever it took to win, because we were in like a high pressure, high situation game, in a rivalry game versus them. So he knew that, you know, I was the best option to throw out there.
And I'm not gonna lie, the pacing in your kick step and the way you were hitting those punches, I was actually really impressed. So I was kind of like, you know, I think like,
and no, I remember I like listened to Lane Johnson talk over this summer, and I remember like the number one thing he said to tackle was like, get out of your stance. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna get out of my stance. I ain't repped it, so I'm gonna get out of it for sure.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we'll see 3 reps. I put them consecutive because I was just so intrigued. And actually, I thought your length showed really well in that too, because you do have, you know, relative to other interior offensive linemen, especially at the college level, you have really good length, and I think you play with length really well. So I think that's something we'll kind of take a look at. And last question before we jump into the tape, so that I can seriously sit here and ask you questions all night. No one wants to hear that. I'm sure you don't want to do that. But is there anyone, I know you just mentioned Lane Johnson, is there anyone in the NFL or any of your collegiate peers that you kind of model your game at, or, you know, specifically focus on in the film room to prepare yourself for Saturdays and Sundays?
Yeah. So for me, like one of the guys that I just like really love watching, just like, because I feel like me and him have similar mindsets going into the game, as Ryan Jensen. Like, just like the nastiness he plays with is just like something that I feel like just listening to him talk to this summer when I was down at the, you know, the OL Masterminds clinic was just like, you know, it's like he's got that edge to him. He's got that nastiness to him. It's like just who he is as a person. It's not like something that he like puts on or whatever. Like, it's just like actually true to himself. And like, I feel like that's something that I mimic really well for sure.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I remember I think it was a couple of years ago at his O-line Masterminds where he came and gave another talk that Duke put the video out of it. And he was talking about coming from, you know, a smaller school, which would be similar to you at Coastal. And one of the key things is, you know, showing that aggression, putting that on tape, especially when you're at some of these all-star games. It's a way to kind of set yourself apart. You know, it's kind of, you're coming in with a bit of a chip on your shoulder. You want to show the kind of P5 guys that, you know, you can play with them and play with the best. So I think, I mean, Ravens fans are going to love that. Obviously, Jensen was with Baltimore on his rookie deal, and I think we were all pretty upset to see him leave. But definitely some similarities there in the play style. And you know, let's jump right into it. Let's kind of start with your pass protection clips. And so, right at the front end of this video, we have some of those right tackle snaps. So let's rip through I think there's 3 in a row, and then we can kind of jump into having you kind of talk us through some of them. So let's just kind of let them play through. My video just skipped, so let me just go back and replay. So there's 76, obviously at right tackle here.
Okay. Yeah. So you want me to break it down from the first play, or you want all 3 to roll?
Actually, yeah, start with the first play. So you start now.
Hit play real quick. Sorry. Yeah, so basically we're working a slide. I had the right guard's help. This is the first one? Yeah. So I knew with Stills right here lined up in a 4-eye that they could twist. And I knew pretty quickly after I moved out to tackle, they kind of knew I wasn't as experienced out there. So I knew they were going to start throwing a lot of games and twist at me. Having that right guard on the inside, Caden right there, allows me to kind of set a little tighter. And I know that, like, if I keep having this post hand on 55 right here, I know that I think it's 5 or 6, he's either got to go outside of me or he's going to loop in. So I can kind of sit on there and kind of be thick and help the guard. And then if they kind of unfold like this, it makes it really, really simple.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I noticed a lot on the inside. Anytime you took on either a stun or another game, you know, it's right here, right? You kind of, it's the way your head snaps inside to kind of, you're constantly reading left or right. That was something, the mental processing really stood out, and I'm sure that helped you getting kicked out to a new position in game.
For sure. And I think a lot of that too has to go back to like being a young guy, my true freshman and sophomore year, like playing at center and guard. Like my coach was like, did a really good job of teaching me how to like recognize twist kind of early and kind of seeing how different rushes based off film and in games and practices, different rushes kind of can set you up for, you know, when a twist is coming. So right here, like if you kind of let it roll a little bit, like I could tell like he was kind of slow playing it. So I knew this guy was going to be thick inside and he was going to come out.
Nice. I love it. Yep. Yeah. And there it is. Good use of length there, you know, get that inside hand out there.
Yeah. Kind of getting them away from me for sure.
Exactly. Even get him twisted. I mean, he kind of, I think he ran that, you know, I know he's hesitating, but right here, you know, he kind of gets a little high, uses pad level against him. You know, great to see him move here to the second one. Let's just let it play. And then what we got. Same idea. So yeah, you're not kidding. They are sending those at you pretty frequently.
Yeah, so right here we got a 5-man protection. Basically, the center's locked on. It's a 2-man sword on each side. So the left guard, left tackle are going to work. Oops, sorry.
Oh, no, where's it?
My bad. The left guard and left tackle are working 91 and 7, and then me and the right guard are basically manned up 52 and 10. And let's see, go back to the beginning of that. Yeah, see, it's like where he's at, like he's in that 4-eye and he's like tight on me. So I can kind of be thicker on him with my set. And I know that like if he's going to keep pressing that inside shoulder, like I know 10 has to go around me or he's got to loop in. So it's kind of where I'm sitting on it right there.
Same idea as the last clip too, you know, getting that eye back inside and picking him up. And then, you know, like you said, the first thing I've noticed, and you mentioned it at the front, getting out of your stance, like you're coming out quick, fast, and you got pretty good, you know, really good pad level coming into these. I mean, you're absorbing that contact. And the other thing that I think we'll get into in some of your center reps, that grip strength. Is that something that you work on a lot in practice? Because that's something I noticed. I know I sent you a message about in some of those outside zone reps that we'll look at your run film. I mean, you have vice grips on once you kind of get those guys clamped down. So is that something, grip strength, that you're working on regularly?
No, I mean, I do have these. I went to Walmart. It was like maybe a year or two ago, and I bought those little gripper things, and I just, it's just kind of like for something when I'm bored, I'm sitting there watching TV. It's nothing that like I was like, oh, I need to go work on grip strength. I was just like, yeah, you know what? If I'm sitting here, whatever, like especially now when I'm training, like I train for like whatever, it's 4 or 5 hours a day, and then the rest I'm just kind of hanging out. So I'm like, watching shows, I'm like, I might as well sit here and do something. So
yeah.
It's nothing I've done. Like I was like, oh, I need to do this, but it just kind of happened.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah, I always got one of those stress balls going too, because you're working, you got to keep the hands busy.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then I think in this one, I think we get a little bit more of a speed rush. And so that when I was looking through these right tackle clips, that's what I was expecting. I mean, just thinking about it from a defensive coordinator perspective, I see the center get moved to right tackle. I'm probably thinking, let's threaten this guy with some speed on the edge, but let's see how this goes here. And that's again, super impressive the way.
Yeah. So right here, like we had a Max Pro, we had 7-man protection on. We're basically full sliding to me. So I did know that like, if I did get a quick spike, because there was a guy kind of hipped up with 19 right there. Like I knew if I got a quick spike inside, the guard was going to be there. So just kind of like knowing that and knowing like I have inside help with immediate stunt that I can kind of set more aggressively and I can kind of kick out there and make him, you know, run the hump and make him run wide and up the field. So that was kind of like my thought process beforehand. And then like, yeah, like you're looking at him like he's a taller, longer, faster guy. So I just wanted to kind of get my hands on him quick and and sit them down, because I do play strong. I do play with my feet in the ground. So I knew if I could get my hands on them, it was over.
Drop that anchor and then you're set. Yeah, and I can see your inside hand right there. So your inside hand was ready. If he was going to do anything on the inside, you kind of had the stop sign ready to throw up. That was something that I noted on this one. But again, good use of length. That's something that I noticed pretty frequently in some of these pass sets. Right there. I mean, that's full extension. You're planted. You set your base right there, mirror them around the bend, and there you are with the back of the pocket. Like that's can't ask for more than that. I would have thought you've been playing there the whole time.
I mean, it all starts with just kind of like knowing the protection and knowing where I can, if I have inside help or not, and kind of determining what my set is right there. So
see, what you're nailing right here is something that getting you in here to talk us through this, talk the slides through. It's something that, it's super important context for our the fans, the listeners to see. So I appreciate that. Yeah,
for sure.
We'll play that through. And then here, I think on this next one, we get a blitz pickup. So, they're kind of just showing their base D here. Nothing's really showing, but they kind of send the house once the snap goes. So
so we knew like initially, like on short yardage plays, they're going to play with a tight shade. But when they got in this, I think we're in either 2-minute drill or in a 3rd and long or something like that. So they're in 2 split 3. So it's game central typically between, that D tackle and DN. But we knew Notre Dame, like they liked sending blitzes up the middle. Like you said, they brought the house right here. And basically the left side's manned up on the D tackle DN. And then center me to the right side is in a 3-man sort. So I'm working that right side backer, and they're basically, manned up on the DN and D tackle. Yeah. And then the running back's supposed to come down and get back on the left. So, yeah, I mean, for me, it's just like if a backer blitzes and I know it's coming, it's just like sitting down on it and just stopping them early just so that quarterback can step up, because I know that they're bringing pressure up the middle to make sure that quarterback can't step up, and those guys are rushing wide. So that's usually like where you kind of get sacks with quarterbacks that are like 10 yards deep because there's pressure up the middle. So for me, it's like I want to stop their initial charge early.
Right. And then, obviously picking up the blitz, it's more about, everyone's got to do their job. That's kind of the key 100%. Thing. So did you go right here because you knew left was on flanked on the quarterback's left, or the running back was flanked on the quarterback's left? Because you picked up the right backer.
Yeah. So how we call, it was a called protection. So it was like, we called it 61. So the backer would be on our left. I would be sliding to the right.
Love it. Okay. Yeah. And then I think it's Kyle Hamilton that gets through here.
Yeah. He gets a late shot on him.
That's just QB picks up the extra man when your protection's outnumbered your man. So I mean,
he's got to get the ball out fast for sure.
Yeah, and he does. I mean, he takes the licking, but the ball comes out at least.
We got the free 15 with it though too. So
yeah, that's true. The flag did come in. But yeah, what I wanted to show here was I think what you did really well. And I mean, I got to give credit to the whole up front line. I mean, nobody panics. Everybody just kind of picks up their man and, like I said, takes care of business. So I think that's. Those are so tough. I mean, there was a game this year. I don't know if you follow NFL really closely, but the Ravens got beat up really bad with cover 0 from the Dolphins, and the line was taking a beating in some of the fan opinions. And then I was like, well, you got to go look. Where's the pressure coming from? What's the slide protection call? All those pieces are really critical to blaming the offensive line. And then there's me being the O-line guy on Twitter, just being like, nope, we're not giving blame there. We're not giving blame there. So I'm always out there advocating for the O-line. Let's run this one through. Yeah, another pickup there.
Yeah, so basically right here, I think, let's see.
Let's get back to the front here. So you're shaded up on the 0 here.
Yeah, they're in an odd front. Let's see, what's the pro? Let's see what they're doing. Yeah, so basically I'm locked up on the nose, and like I said, it's like a double sort with a running back helping the back end. But for me, like I said earlier, like recognizing twists and stuff like that has come pretty natural to me just because of the coaching I had earlier and the play experience I had earlier. Like right away, if you let this clip go, like you can see he's just like basically BS rushing. Like I know like something's coming. And like you can see it like too, like where they're looking, like they won't even like look. Like if you see right there, like right as the start of the clip, like he's looking to the right, like to my left. So I know something's coming from that way. So it's like pretty simple. Once you're locked on and he looks a direction, just look that way too, and you'll see something coming. So yeah, I mean, they kind of gave their twist away pretty easily, but the finish part of it is just like, you know, again, getting an extra shove and staying on, just because you could feel, you know, the quarterback starting to scramble because he's trying to get off and kind of run. So I'm just trying to stay on and get as much time as possible for him.
So I want to press on that a little bit, because I think that's something where, again, being the O-line guy on the public Twitter space, I'm always kind of leaning towards explaining what the O-line's doing. And there's always some, I wouldn't say frustration, but there's always questions with things our offensive line is doing vis-a-vis Lamar Jackson, obviously being very athletically gifted quarterback. And when he gets scrambling, sometimes, you know, he'll do some things where your back's to the, so like, how do you kind of prepare for, you know, a scrambling quarterback? Like you kind of mentioned, you felt him scrambling. So how does that kind of work from the offensive lineman's perspective?
Yeah, for me, I think, again, a lot of it's just came with like natural practice. Like in high school, I had a really like fast scrambling quarterback. Like Braxton right here is a very fast, will scramble and try to extend plays. So like Coach Weiss, our line coach, you know, kind of telling us going in the spring, going into the fall, like, listen, we got a guy that can scramble around and make plays. So you got to be able to realize, you know, when a defender's disengaging with you to run laterally, you need to run with them too, to stay on them, because the quarterback's going to be running around trying to find, you know, different receivers that are open, you know, you call it scramble drill. But yeah, so for me, it's just kind of came naturally, and you can kind of see it, you know, when you're face to face with someone, you see their eyes get big because the quarterback's getting close and he's starting to run, like, you know, something's about to happen. So you just got to kind of latch on. But there's that happy medium too, because like you don't want to latch on and get a holding call, but like you can kind of feel just like if the quarterback's close to you or not.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think our fans will appreciate that. Everyone go back, play that through again. You know, write that down, note it down. We appreciate it. Let's get into this next one here.
Yeah, so this was like one of their like blitz down looks, basically lining up three guys on one side. And, you know, we had a lot of confidence in our left tackle, Luke. So we knew like one-on-one, he would be all right. I think, let's see, did we send the running back over there? No, he was getting out. So basically we just had a four-man slide over there because we knew that they could twist easily out of that set. And for me, it was just like once the nose guard kind of crossed my face, I want to make sure Lacitus was there solid on him. And then I was trying to get the, you know, little rib shot, little hip toss right there on the guy on our right guard.
A little bit of that boxing background came out.
Yeah, for sure.
Powering that right there.
Yeah, throw him
that's
down.
Awesome. So, like, yeah, I would say I picked these specifically because you know, as I was kind of going through your full film, I was like, he processes well. So, I mean, that's something that I think you can see very clearly here. You know, like I said earlier, active eyes was something that really stood out. You know, that I always say head on a swivel. I know that's kind of the coach thing to say, but you know, that's something that really stood out to me as a real strength. But again, I have to show it that little shot at the end. I love something like that. Just, you know, make their day a little bit tougher, right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So this clip, like, you know, this is my last like college game. Like I was trying to finish anyone and everyone, every play. Like it didn't matter. Like I was going out with a bang. So we're in a full slide left. Yeah, and like, you know, you can kind of see it right there. We locked down that D lineman. The left guard was on him, and I was going back for a cleanup shot, and I was going to get me one right there. So
gotta look for work, man.
He felt it for sure.
Yeah, no, look for work, right? If you you know, once you passed off, get those eyes active and look back inside. So I'd love to see
no doubt.
I think
this
okay.
is yeah.
I gotta ask. Okay, so I was talking about your film with one of my buddies, Michael Crawford, at A Bukhari on Twitter, and you know, I mentioned, I was like, did you notice when you were watching Brock? Did you notice the head slap? And he goes, yeah, him and Tyler Smith from Tulsa are doing it all the time. So, I was dying at this.
Yeah, no. So this is basically just like whatever you want to call it, jailbreak screen, all out screen. Yeah, and like, you know, our coaching was, you know, club them upfield, and you kind of see it with this clip too. But it's like, you know, with nose guards, it's funny because like you can kind of say something to them, get them all mad, make them think they're going to rush you. And then right here, he thinks he has the edge, and he's like, oh, I'm about to beat him. And then boom, right to the head. And it's just like, it's just for me, like it's easy because I know like where to hit, and they just kind of like just fall down right away. So it's just like something I've kind of learned over the years, just a little sneak attack trick, I guess you can call it, but it's fun to do because I know it makes them feel stupid for sure.
The best part of this clip is, so I coach 13, 14-year-olds. And so one of the centers I worked with back in 2018, he's actually down at a prep school in Delaware now playing high school ball. And I sent him a clip of this and I was like, remember how I used to always tell you to take your inside hand and drive it on the back hip to push them through when you're going in a screen? He's like, yeah. I was like, well, here's what you get to do at the next level when you can hit the hands. So, and I think that's, and then obviously locating was really impressive here. And then, kind of again,
same thing again. Like he's blitzing. It's easy because he thinks he's going to have a free shot, and then boom, gets hit in the head. So
you just give him the whack. Say,
no doubt.
But other underrated thing, I pulled 3 of your screens. There was a few more. You guys, this was a pretty popular play. I thought your locating and your pacing into your guy was really impressive, and we'll kind of look at that in your run game stuff too. But just that play speed, right? Like that. This is kind of where your processing of the play, where your man is, where you need to get, combines with your athleticism to get there, and that's something that really stood out to me. No wasted movements. Everything is moving with purpose, get low, re-engage, good pad level. So I think that's something that really stood out to me going through some of these. And I think we get one more here.
Yeah, this is a screen. We're running it based off counter. So it's like a little slower screen. And right there at like the beginning of it, it's just like kind of stopping that dude's initial charge. And then like you see me kind of grab the back of his pads, and it's just like something for me to latch on and just kind of throw him down easy with, just trying to pull him to get him out of the way. Because
this is what I'm teaching my kids, not the slap. So I think that's the important part here is that, you got to hold long enough for that counter to hit. So if it's the turn and slap or the turn and push him through, you can't push him right into the corner who's doing the fake. So
exactly. And there's so much cross action with the puller and the running back coming across. So it's just like, it allows me to kind of get out front. Right here, I'm just trying to run through contact, like he's staying with me. I give him a shove, and then I was like, you know what? Like I'm not finishing, or I'm not going to finish right there. So I go down and get the hit, and he falls down. Everybody starts bitching and everything. I throw my hands up and start laughing at him because no flag was happening. We get a nice, whatever it is, 30-yard gain, and get a little 2 knockdown piece on the play. So it was awesome.
Same deal here, like, locating that, getting that shoulder, your head comes across, good leverage. Those are tough blocks, hitting that in space. So you just want to push them upfield, give your guy as much daylight as possible.
Exactly. Just trying to, I'm basically, just trying to get in the way and like, shove and do everything I can to just kind of give our running back enough space. And that's kind of what I was doing early. And then obviously the finish part at the end.
Yeah. And then hands up. I was dying at the hands up, Take it up with him, not me. And I always say it's kind of like holding. It's not holding unless it's called, right? It's not a personal foul unless it's called.
Yeah.
That concludes the pass plays. So just a little summary for you guys watching at home. I think the key thing here from Brock is, that high-level mental processing, picking up those stunts, doing it at different spots. I think, moving out to right tackle, so much going through your mind. You're just probably trying to remember the play calls, the protections from that spot, let alone, but also, shows that preparedness. I think that's something that really stood out. Grip strength being really strong. We see a strong punch, good movement skills, good leverage, and then obviously can be a factor in the screen game. And we'll see a little bit more of the movement skills here in the run game. So let me just. Sorry, folks. You're going to see a little bit of a weird kind of funky video here. I had a technical difficulty. I had to cut it out. So we're moving into the run game here. So I think we start with some outside zone plays. We go into some inside zone, or at least what I charted. Brock, you can obviously tell us what the play call is what Cole's charting was. Hopefully I'm right. We look at some pulls, and then we look at some duos, which I think is great because, the Ravens under Greg Roman run a pretty mixed bag. It's definitely a gap-heavy offense, a ton of power, especially with their guards. Big requirement is pulling, which is why I wanted to pull those specifically. But they do run a lot of duos. They also use a lot of outside zone as well. So, it's always good to kind of see Virginia Tech coming with kind of a mixed bag as well. So, tell me from like a broader place, were you guys primarily zone or primarily gap for run plays?
I would say we were actually a pretty good mix. We had, certain teams we like to run more zone to, and then there's certain teams we like to run more gap to. So that was the nice thing being in the offense at VT, is we did have a good mix of everything. It wasn't just like we're only going to run inside and outside zone. Like, it was like, if gap's working, if we're running, we're going to run power and counter. Then if it zone's working, we're going to run inside, outside, and read option, and all that different things. So we definitely had a good mix for sure.
Was it like that at Coastal too for you guys, or were you guys...
At Coastal was more of like a RPO triple option out of the gun.
Okay.
So it was a little bit different, but we did run, it wasn't as much zone scheme. It was more of power.
Okay.
Like we ran like similar power plays, but at Coastal, we didn't run like traditional inside outside zone. It was triple option.
Yeah, what I noticed is some of the, I'd call it inverted veer power read, which are kind of interchangeable, but I noticed you guys ran that a little bit where, the running back path is more of an outside zone, but the keeper option for the quarterback is like an upfield dive. So that's something the Ravens started using quite a bit too. So I did notice that while I was going through. I was like doing a lot of that similar option stuff that you see, because the Ravens don't actually run zone read, they run veer, because they're the quarterback path and the running back path are on the same side of the field versus zone being one way or the other. So exactly. that was something that I noticed with your guys' game. So just important context for you guys at home. Seeing players playing in similar situations is obviously good for projection into a scheme. So let's roll it here and then walk me through it.
Yeah, so we're running outside zone. Basically how it's supposed to work is the tight end's manned up on that stand-up guy right in front of him. The left guard and left tackle are working a double team up to that backer on the left of the screen. And then me and the right guard are working a double team up to that middle backer right there on the hash. And the right tackle is just trying to reach that guy that's already outside of him. So basically what we're trying to do is, that front, basically from left guard on, is just kind of drive them off the screen. The right side is just trying to scoop it up. And then basically the running back's going to read off of me, off my block, kind of where that nose guard goes. And right here, like, you could tell in his stance, like he was going to try to slant hard with me. So I was just trying to get that angle, get that upfield hand to kind of stop the penetration. And then the backhand for me is like really key. If he's like trying to read the running back and the running back's about to cut back and he tries to fight over the top, he can't, because I have that sunk in. So
exactly. So
like right there, that was like big for me. As you can see, we kind of split the defense and he just kind of cuts right off my block.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Do you guys run a sort of wide zone where you're trying to create that cutback lane, or is it all true outside zone?
Yeah, no, we definitely do run like wide zone where it's like we're trying to get outside, and then we definitely run like a form of outside zone where we're trying to force the cutback.
Right. Yeah, no, because that was something I sent Brock, just for you guys at home. I sent Brock a message. I was like, I want to talk about that inside hand, because you can see it right here. Once you get going, your hand kind of is dropped, and I think you actually have his arm trap there, in between your arm and like kind of in your armpit. And what that does is you're just walking with him. You're just saying, "Come over here with me," right. And it creates that cutback lane, and that's something that I think we see on this play here next. So I thought that was is that something that you were coached to do, or is that something that's just kind of you've picked up? It works. It's a nice little strategy.
Yeah, no, that was definitely something I was coached to do, and just through practice and good coaching with it, it's just kind of helped. So for this play, it's actually a little bit different. I'm pretty sure we are, if you let it run, I'm pretty sure we're reading. Yeah, so we're running outside zone, but we're reading actually the D tackle. So we're manned up. The right tackle is manned up on the end. The right guard's trying to rip and get to that backside backer, and then we're basically running outside zone on the front side. Gosh, so for me, I know that the ball is. You see it, yeah. So like for me, I know the ball like isn't going to go outside. I know it's going to be a cutback, or the quarterback's keeping it and going out the backside. Right. So for me, I am trying to keep more of a backside presence on this play. And he does start to fight over, but I had, such a good grip on him early and kind of widened him with my initial step that it wasn't even a factor.
Yeah, so this is a great example of how that hand placement can really help you, even if, I'd say he made a pretty good read here. He gets the length here on you, and he comes back inside, but that hand's there. And that hand just does just enough to create that space for a finesse block. But see, that's why I need you here, because, I didn't even notice that at first. But there, you can see it right there. So for you guys watching at home, 68 is going to kind of lead the defensive tackle that's manned up on him here and move right into the second level. And you can kind of see him sit down, and the quarterback's eyes are on him right here. And so that's the read man. and he keeps it because he kind of sat back and opened that lane. But
Sure.
again, that was it's just it showed advanced hand placement. Playing smart. I think that's something that I would say is one of your strengths. Just playing smart, making smart plays, using your hand placement for the better.
No doubt. Yeah, so here it's UVA. They're running an even front. And we knew that they love to do X-splits up the middle right there, as you see. So pre-snap, I don't know what it was, but I was just in my stance, and like it was just something about 33, just like the way he was like leaning on his toes. It just kind of like didn't feel right to me. So I was like, I looked at Silas, our right guard, and I was like, alert X right here. So it worked out. Like I kind of had a feeling, and he did X-splits. But no, the guard on the play side, left side, did a really good job kind of staying thick, not just kind of running around that shade, because that's kind of how they try to mess with you. If you run around that block, it kind of puts me in a bind. But yeah, right as I saw him coming, for me, it was just trying to grab him and throw him play side because I knew the ball was going to get cut back. So
right,
just trying to split the defense that way, kind of get him running and scoop it on the backside and just split him right up the middle. I mean,
that looked like nothing. That was no effort involved there either. It's just kind of
yeah. So I mean, it's just seeing that, like, in us getting up on those backers. I mean, that's why he scored from 25 yards out untouched. So
yeah, and it really kind of highlights. Someone asked me this. It was like how important. Or what's kind of the key thing to have a good zone running team, or a team that runs zone? What's one of the key? And it's communication and chemistry, and those
100%.
are things that just comes from repetition. Like there's no one way to fix that. I coach a zone scheme, and again, I coach young kids, right? So obviously, it's a million questions coming from a 14-year-old being like, well, what if he does this? Then what do I do? And what if and it's just always like, just block your space, just block your space, just block your space. If he comes at you, pick him up. But seeing the little nuances here, like calling this out, identifying that, and you can see, even coming back inside to kind of open that up, the right guard there, hell of a play, and then obviously seeing it going for 6 is gravy. So beautiful there. All right, so let's get this one here.
Did I cut him right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just basically running quarterback sweep, just like out the front. Like we know the ball's not going to get cut back. And I knew kind of how they were playing. They were, heavier guys that like to play thick. So I knew right as I got that outside shoulder, I could kind of cut and get that leg down, and he would follow me, and it would be a non-factor in the play.
I noticed this a few times, a couple cuts. I didn't pull too many of them, but, it's just such an easy play as an offensive lineman. When you're not worried about that cutback, you can just kind of take him out of the play, and you've done your job. So, again, I wanted to show that because it was, again, something I saw in some of the other clips, other games. But, it's always, again, important to see that nuance, understanding of where the ball is going vis-a-vis what your assignment is. So, sometimes it's just easy to cut and take care of your guy.
For sure. No doubt. Yeah, so we're running outside zone right here. Basically, let's see.
Back there to the start.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. There.
Yep, we're good. So basically what by play design, it's supposed to be the right tackle's on the end. Me and the right guard are working that D tackle to, I think that's 27. The left guard's trying to cut off that nose, and the left tackle's, coming down, working for that backside backer. Tight end's trying to cut the D in. So, yeah, I mean, first thing I got to do right here is check instant pinch from the 3, just in case he spikes inside. I have that, inside protected for the guard. He doesn't come, so it's just trying to get up on that backer as fast as I can. Yeah, and just trying to, get outside of him so that the ball can go outside if he has to. And then once I kind of see it go by, it's like, you know what? I see a pile. Like I'm going to go finish him.
Right there. Yeah. But what I liked here, and I noticed it a few times, is, you get out to him pretty quick, but, I found I always say pacing, and maybe pacing isn't the right word, but it's more sometimes in zone running, you see guys that will sprint to their guy because they, the idea is zones to be fast, right? Get out there. But you do a nice job of pacing to them, and it kind of allows you to create better positioning here. So, for example, as you kind of approach 27, I mean, again, you're still moving while you're getting out there quick, but you're not kind of breaking your technique.
Right. Yeah.
Create that wide base. And then you're just pushing them inside, and that creates that seal, opens that lane. I mean, there was a play made in the backfield here, but in terms of where that gap would be, I mean, it was very clear there. And then obviously no reason not to finish. So why
no doubt.
Yeah, no, I love that part of some of your run blocks. It was that patience, just kind of letting the guy come to you and getting out there, and then taking smart angles. Seems to be a pretty consistent thing.
I feel like a lot of that too is with our running backs. They do a really good job of trying to set up our blocks, and I think a lot of that was with Khalil when he came in last year, kind of teaching all the other guys, this is how you set up blocks, and I think it's kind of trickled down over the last 2 years.
And he really took off in the NFL doing that in Chicago too. I mean, that was one of his best aspects. I got a buddy that does this kind of content coverage for the Bears, and he was just sending me clips nonstop, being like, "Look at this! Look how he sets this up! Look how he sets this up!" So it's always great to see that at the collegiate level, how things will filter down beyond classes.
No doubt.
So let's get into this one. Let's run it through and see. We can go back to the start after.
Yeah. So basically, we're just trying to run an inside zone, or actually, we're running a triple option off of it, I think. Let's see. Yeah, because we had the orbit motion. Yeah. I think 8's supposed to be the read right here. This guy, I think, our tight end messed up, but because based off like what the backfield action, it looks like it's supposed to be triple. But,
that's where he's looking.
Yeah. But yeah, so for me, it's just like I knew this nose guard. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he was quick and athletic, and he crowded the ball. So he was trying to get on me because he knew I was much stronger than him. So once I get that, right foot in the ground, like it's hard to, when a guy's 2 inches from me, it's hard to really get, 2 steps in the ground. So I really had to get that one in the ground and really just, strain and drive him. And yeah, so I was just trying to clear him out of the hole, and then he tried to pull over the top. And like, for me, it's just like about finish. And the worst thing you can do, I guess, as a D lineman is right there where you try to grab someone's helmet at the end, because you're just giving yourself up basically. Yeah.
So no, those down blocks are like down block situations when you're faced up, manned up with a zero. Those are tough just because you got to you have less space to create that leverage.
Itself, and you got to get the snap and your step and all that. So it's like, high pressure situation. You just got to come through.
But right there is where I think, inside, it kind of comes back here at the end, but that initial leverage creation was there. And that's that kind of, I think working up through good pad level, good upper body strength obviously stands out here. But then, what I think is so important here is even though he gets back inside on you, you don't just give up on the play. And that's where you kind of see that a little bit too often. But that competitive toughness, that drive to finish through the whistle, obviously finished all the way through the whistle. That's obviously so important. And that's, I've talked to a few people about, they've watched your tape and they always say he's a battler. And that's obviously so important. It really shows in this clip. Even though kind of leverage came back, you didn't give up, you pushed through, and you end up on top of him.
No doubt. Yeah, I think we're just working. Let's see. Yeah, we're running basically just read option right here. The left guard, left tackle are manned up. I have a backside shade, so I'm going to work what we call a slow call, which is just a double team with me and the right guard to the front side backer. Right tackle is just trying to get up to the backside backer. But for me, I kind of like this block a lot because I step with, like, if he's on my right shoulder, I step hard with that left and basically throw my shoulder back into him, and I kind of, get a good shot on him. And for me, like, I was just trying to pull him over and take him over, and then obviously like the finish at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, right guard hits you, creates that leverage, but then you maintain that leverage throughout and kind of erase them from the play, create that gap. Like right here, 60 is going to bang down, and then boom, right there. You just take that, and you kind of own it, right? Get that head across. There's that leverage. And he's trying
to fight back in. Like, he's trying to fight back in, but my helmet is in front of him.
Exactly.
So he can't get through that seam.
And you can see his left foot kind of come up because he was trying to kind of fight through, but you had thrown him over. So he's got that left foot in the air. He kind of take away all of his anchor there. And then, he's got nothing there. Hit him with the finish again, because why not?
Yeah, I'm at guard in this game. Yep. Yeah, so we're just running basically it's an RPO. We're running like counter, but we have a little pass too with it if everybody kind of is coming up on the counter that we can do. As you can kind of see, like the quarterback's looking and he kind of takes it outside. But we knew like this week I did rep guard because I had repped it. You know, I'd played it my whole sophomore year, but going into the week, I had a whole prep week of at left guard. So we knew like Richmond what they were going to do once we had counter and a puller to them, that they were going to try to wrong arm. So I was just trying to hug it tight and basically, you know, log them and allow that quarterback to get outside because he's trying to fill that gap.
Yeah, I think what's impressive here is the flexibility when you bend into the end here. So play side end here, you kind of come around and like, you know, that's a bendy play right there. You know,
yeah,
plant that inside ankle and you can see ankle flexion, but look how low you are here. Like that left knee is almost on the ground. So, I mean, that's how you completely erase him out of that play.
Yeah, for sure.
So again, going back to what you said earlier, you know, the yoga work, you know, is that something that, you know, going back to your sophomore year at Coastal Carolina, you know, is that something where if you were asked to pull back then, would you have been this bendy? Is that something that really progressed throughout your collegiate career?
Yeah, so I think I did pull really well my sophomore year, and I think a lot of that was just the practice with it. But being able to just get thrown in, you know, I had a whole camp, and basically I think this was game 3 or 4 of just center. And then just being able to get thrown in at guard and asked to pull, you know, does go back to a lot of that flexibility work and kind of my prior experience. So I think, you know, I pulled well my sophomore year, but I think a lot of that was just with the practice. Now It's just I'm able to do it just kind of naturally.
Just naturally. So I want to hit you on that really quick. And I meant to ask this up front. I think I messaged you about it. But, you know, when you get moved around in a game, so say you go from center to left guard or center to right tackle, how difficult is it for you to kind of make those adjustments and things like your stance and like, you know, kind of where you have an offset right foot if you're on the right side versus a left foot on the left side? Like, is that stuff, does that kind of muscle dexterity, does that come naturally to you, or is that something that is kind of takes some getting used to as the reps start?
For me, I think, you know, obviously like football is my life, right? So like in the off season, I do like a lot of extra work of like cross training. So like I know I'm going to get plenty of work at center. So, you know, like me and Luke or me and Lasitas will go out and we'll do like field work with each other, and I won't work center at all. Like I'll just work, you know, left guard, right guard, and some tackle, like, and just so I have those extra reps that I know I'm not going to do in practice, that when it does happen in a game, in the middle of a game, when it's a rivalry game and I need to get thrown out to tackle, like I have some reps of it. It's just not live padded reps in practice. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
yeah.
So for me, it's just like, just kind of putting that extra prep in through the off season.
Oh, I love it. No, that's good to hear. I know our fans will really appreciate kind of hearing that. So let's jump into this next one. I think we got another pull coming from left guard again.
Yeah, we're running. Yep. We're running basically like a counter read kind of thing. We're just trying to mess with this this defensive end. We're trying to get him to expand just so we can have that seam a little bit bigger. But yeah, it was actually like one of the times where he didn't like wrong arm. He was just kind of hard jointing, which is what we call like when he's just trying to hold that space. So basically right here, like I see him trying to hold that space. I know I'm going to have to go hit him hard. I'm just trying to ring his head. So that's where you see me like throw my helmet, throw my, you know, arms into him, just try to basically expand and launch into him.
That's gap blocking. I mean, you don't have to hold those blocks long. It's not a zone where they're reblocking. It's just downhill gap blocking. Just
like as you see, like the running back's already basically at my level by the time I hit him. So like he's a non-factor in the play already.
Right.
But once I just, you know, get that hit on him, he's definitely out the play.
And because you're the first puller, your read is you're basically reading first man on the edge, and then the guy pulling behind you is reading up the gap.
Right, exactly.
And so that's your job. We're looking at him right there. He just kind of collapses, turns around, falls out of the play. You know, like I said, downhill. We used to run this play. It was a trap play, and for context, I'm only 5'9", and I played left guard my whole life. Canadian ball, so I mean we're small kids up here. But you know, I played on a bigger offensive line, and so when I pull down on those trap blocks, defensive ends could never see me because I was too short. So, I used to hit those kind of clear out blocks all the time. But, you nailed it. It's all about, hit the lick on them, clear them out. And like I said, you don't have to hold that block. So it's all about laying the wood.
Exactly.
No, it's beautiful. Let's play it. Oh, it's okay.
Yep, a counterplay. So, like I said, again, we were preparing for wrong arm, kind of, collapsing that edge. And I'm just trying to get out there fast. Here was a different type of counter. So, I don't know if you noticed in the one before that, but it was me and the H-back pulling around.
Yeah.
And this play, it's me and the left tackle pulling. So, yeah, so like right there, you see the H-back. And then this is me and the tackle pulling. And we're basically reading that backside edge too. So you see how he's kind of sitting. If he was crashing, like Braxton would have pulled it. But, yeah, basically my read, again, is just to pull out there as fast as I can. If I see him coming in trying to wrong arm, I'm going to log him. I'm just going to try to get my head in on him and then basically have that right arm and just kind of hook him inside because I know the ball's going out.
Yeah, and a good adjustment too because, going from – I don't know if it happened consecutively or when it happened – sequence, but reading what his positioning is. So he didn't sit down on it. He cuts inside. So it's like, okay, turn him. So it's, it's a nice adjustment. It kind of shows the nuance, right? Like on those pulls where you got double pull and you're the clear out block, or, the first block, whatever you want to call it. You got to read his positioning and adjust your block accordingly. So you go from laying the wood on that kind of kick out block to, okay, he's cutting, he's slanting inside. So now I'm going to turn him inward. So just shows the nuance, right? And that's one of those things where I think, what I mentioned up front, it's all about controlled aggression. You're probably looking, if he's going to sit down, I'm going to give him a whack. But once you see him come in, it's like, okay, now it's time to be controlled, turn him inside. Exactly. Just shows nuance in the run game.
Yeah, we're just running basically inside zone. They're in they're all goal line, send the house, blitz look. But yeah, we're just working, a little double team to 20 right here. Trying to clear him out. And I just felt him leaning and, just me being the player I am, just gave him a little pull down and,
I like that. I like the finish on that, but I like how, you lean into him here and it's just short, choppy steps and how wide your base is in that kind of drive block. Again, you're on the goal line. You just need to kind of push him a few yards. But, choppy steps, push him through, clear him. Hand goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this play, yeah. So basically kind of same situation. We're just running inside zone, working a double team to 20. And, when a guy plays low like that and he's not really playing with the base, he's just kind of leaning and stuff. It's really easy to just kind of finish him and drive him out. So that's kind of basically what happened right there.
I saw that left knee right there.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Yeah. Let's see. Yep, this is inside zone again. Working a double team with that right guard to that backer, and then for me, it's just once I get on somebody and I know I got control, it's just about finishing. And, right there, I felt like, I kind of, checked, make sure that, D tackle kind of went outside of the guard.
You see that right hand push off.
Yep. And then I'm just trying to climb up patiently and then boom.
And you just nailed it because that's what I wrote down is there's that pacing again or the patient steps forward because, again, if you sprint out to him, you narrow that base, it's going to be harder to kind of get back in your shoot when you go into the drive block.
Exactly.
But I didn't pull it and I should have. You had a touchdown block on a draw play. I can't remember which game it was, but same idea because you were just the draw man. I think you were uncovered, but you release and the quarterback follows you in or the running back. I can't remember if it's a handoff, but it was the same idea. You just very patient steps, methodical, getting to your space, and then you just kind of hit that. You lift it up with your outside hand and turn them inside. And running back or quarterback, whoever it was, just went off you. But I think that was a pretty common theme with some of your blocks in space was, I would say good athleticism to get to your guy, but you're not sacrificing your technique to get out there. Yeah, and that's always so important because you'll see that all the time. Guys will, narrow their base, but you can see it right there. Nice wide base all the way through. And then again, of course, there's a finish. So that brings us to the end of the film. So, I think obviously there's so much to take away there. On the run thing, I mean, there's obviously upper body strength. You have really good power, good flexibility, and hand placement, creating leverage, I think is real strength. So, is there any kind of last words you want to leave me with? Anything you want to kind of tell the viewers where they can go to check out some of your more film or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, one, I just want to thank you, for having me on, kind of, having me explain all the different things and kind of, getting my perspective on it so I could kind of, showcase that. But yeah, I have a bunch of film on all my social media accounts. My Twitter is Brock Hoffman 76. My Instagram is Brock Hoff 76. And, there's a bunch of different videos on both those pages. So if you want to check it out, please check it out for sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, man, thank you so much. This was an absolute blast. You do a hell of a lot better job explaining the plays than I do. And that's because you're the one playing them. And that's why this is such a great opportunity to kind of hear from you. And, I also learned a lot, key things to look for. I know the guys watching these two will. So thank you so much for your time. And to everyone out there listening, be good to yourselves, be good to each other.